Okay, so before we begin, I just want to let you know that every agent is going to do this slightly differently and emphasize different things. And I'm just going to do this as if I've just written the offer and the couple has come in to sign it, and I'm going to go through it with them as they're signing. Um, the ultimate confidence boosting professional method of doing this is to have the offer in front of the clients upside down to you and have their pens poised so that they can see the offer as you're explaining it and then can sign it as they get down to the bottom of the page. It's really hard to get there and it takes a lot of practice. Actually, it's not really hard to get there. Once you've spent a lot of time with these forms, you're not memorizing every single word in these forms. You're memorizing what each paragraph or section is about and where to draw their attention to. And you get familiar with this enough that it doesn't matter that you can't see the words. You just know the position on the form and what they're talking about. So I'm going to pretend that Alice and Scott are sitting across from me, or in this case, in this time of Corona, I'm doing a Zoom call just like this, and I'm going through it with them, and then I'm going to send it to them for signature in AuthentiSign. So hi, Scott and Alice. I just want to go over this offer, making sure I've got everything accurate and kind of explain what you're signing today. If you have any questions, please just stop me and let me know. But you've got the main residential purchase and sale agreement here. Today is April 17th. This is going to expire tomorrow. That gives them about a day to consider it. And of course, if they need more time and if you guys are willing, then we can always make that work. There's the address of the house. This is your legal names. You're buying it as a married couple. These are the included items right here. So they've got the stove, refrigerator, dishwasher, all included. Now keep in mind the dishwasher and dryer, or the washer and dryer, clothes washer and dryer, are not included. And you said you were okay with that, correct? Okay, great. So you got a purchase price here. Earnest money, you're going to give me a check today and I will deliver that to Land Title, or the Chicago Title, sorry, who are the closing agents. And often these will be the same, but because you guys already have a contract with Chicago, we're going to have both close at the same time at Chicago to keep things clear. And they already have opened title with Land Title, so we'll keep title there. If you should want to back out without a contingency protecting your earnest money, you've selected the forfeiture of earnest money as the only remedy, or election of remedy. Keeps you from being able to get sued for more than that. We are going to close on 5/20 and you'll take possession that day as soon as it records in the afternoon. We will go over the 22K in a minute, and then if there's any charges and assessments, the seller will pay for it. Seller will fill this line out with the FERPTA, but I'm pretty sure they're not a foreign person, but we'll leave that for them to tick the box. I'm representing you. The listing agent is representing the seller, and then these are the addendums that we've included in this offer, and we'll go over those when we get there. Okay, Alice, this is the email that you gave me for signature and for correspondence, correct? Okay, great. So let's get through here. All right, so I'm just gonna touch on what each of these paragraphs are basically covering in legalese, but I'm gonna do it really briefly. If you have any questions or you wanna pause and read through it, please just let me know. These are the same forms that are used in all of the Northwest. These are written by lawyers and they're given to all real estate brokers to use for the practice of purchasing real property. Here we go. So paragraph A, this is just saying that you agree to come to closing with the amount in the purchase price, and your lender will be doing that through the loan. Earnest money, I kind of touched on this briefly before, but it is the amount of money that you're putting up to say that you're serious about buying this house. And if you should change your mind or get cold feet at the end for no reason that is covered under contingencies in this contract, you will forfeit your earnest money. So it's what you're putting up at risk to demonstrate your seriousness. Now, these two paragraphs spell out what happens if you get to that point where there's a question about whether the seller can keep your earnest money or not. And it goes through who holds the earnest money. I will walk you through all of that, but as long as we just stay in the contingencies, you should be fine. Included items, basically anything that's screwed down in the house, all window treatments, all fixtures, those are all included. And we will do a walkthrough before we close just to making sure that those are all there as expected. Condition of title, this paragraph just says you have a right to have a clean title so that you can, if you wanted to turn around and sell it, you know, after it closes, that there's no encumbrances or, you know, that you have marketable title, that you can have clean title enough that you can turn around and sell it without having to pay off a lien or an encumbrance. Title insurance, this just says that you are going to get the standard title insurance. The seller will pay for your title insurance to basically affirm that is clean title. And then just know that because you're getting a loan, you'll also have to get title insurance through your lender. And you'll see that show up on your settlement statement. Closing and possession, this just goes through when you get to actually have the keys and what the agreement is there. The seller actually has the right to stay in the house until 9 p.m. on the closing date unless otherwise determined. So just because we record doesn't mean that the seller is done. So given that this is a vacant home, that probably won't be the issue. But if someone was moving out, they still have until 9 p.m. to kind of clean up the last little bits and move the last little bits out. But with this one, we should be able to get keys as soon as it records. Okay. And we're not doing a 1031, so this paragraph doesn't apply to us. Closing prorations and charges, that's directions to escrow to making sure that you're paying a proration of all the things, taxes, utilities, etc. Sale information, we're allowed to, on the MLS, we're allowed to post the sale of this property. The seller citizenship, the seller needs to pay taxes if they are not a U.S. citizen. That protects it protects our government from being able to get their taxes. And then notice and delivery of documents. This is just instructions to all the brokers involved that time is of the essence, that we need to make sure that we get email, you know, if we get an email that's the same as delivery, and that we need to get it off to the other party as fast as possible. Computation of time, there's a lot of days in here throughout the contract, and it can get really confusing about what actual date they're talking about. Once we get to mutual on this contract, meaning all parties have signed around and we're agreed, I will go through the contract and I will calculate all the dates that contingencies and milestones are happening, specific dates, and I'll give you a one-pager that breaks that all down. So don't worry about figuring that out yourself. And then this is just giving permission that we're allowed to use electronic signatures, which we will be doing when we have updates to the contract. I'll be sending you things via Authentisign. It's just saying you cannot go under contract on this, decide not to buy the house, turn around and give it to your cousin to buy with the same contract. They're going to have to write their own if they're interested. Default is we chose forfeiture of earnest money, so it's just saying that that's all that we are electing as a remedy if we come to disagreement. And then I am not an attorney, and if you do need to seek the advice of an attorney, that is on you, but we shouldn't have to get there. And that's what that clause is about. And then this is just going over when they have to accept the offer. And we had said tomorrow at 9 p.m. is the offer expiration date, unless we decide to extend that. Counter offer, so if they want a counter offer, this just kind of spells out how many days. I'll keep track of all these days for you and let you know where we're at in terms of expirations if we get into an offer counter offer situation. And then this again is just more explanation of how long we have to go back and forth. Agency disclosure, I represent you. The listing agent represents the seller. Yes, we are both from the same firm, which puts our designated broker as a dual agent, so to speak, but we operate totally independently and are able to completely look after our parties, our clients' interests only, even under the same brokerage. Commission has already been decided and was part of the listing. That's paid for by the seller. So that spells that out, and it's paid at closing. This house is old, and we have included a 22J, which is the lead-based paint. So this is just saying that you have to include that if it's prior to 1978, and there's some legalese around that. You actually have 10 days to fully verify all the information that this listing agent has provided us and the seller has provided us. And if you have any questions about that, you have 10 days to kind of bring it up. After 10 days, if you discover a discrepancy later on, depending on how major it is, that contingency is passed. And then this is just a CYA to some degree, that we are, as brokers, we are not home inspectors, we are not surveyors, we are not contractors, and that this is why you get a home inspection, to making sure that you're satisfied with the condition of the property to the degree that we can be, or that a home inspector can tell us, and that you'll take all the proper insurances and precautions in purchasing this home. Okay. This is your financing addendums. This is just stating that, yep, you're getting a VA loan to purchase this home, 0% down, yippee. Excuse me, you have to make application, which you pretty much already have, but you need to make application within 5 days, and that's just kind of starting the process with the lender. If after 10 days the seller wants to kind of see all of that, they can make this request for loan information, and then it kind of gives a back and forth of what happens if you don't provide that within a few days. So this should not be a problem. Seller has the right to terminate after 30 days. If they really are feeling weird about our loan, or if they're feeling like they need a little bit more security, after 30 days, they can submit this right to terminate notice, and we would just go and give them what they, the information to make them more confident and kind of move forward. We only have 30 days in our closing, so this shouldn't be a problem. That's why I left it at 30 days. And then this is really important. If the appraisal comes back less than sale price, it will not constitute a waiver of this paragraph, or of paragraph 7, I should say, which just means that we have the opportunity to get out if the appraisal comes in low. So, and I'll talk more about that in a second. We're asking them to pay up to $3,000 of our loan costs so that you can keep that money in your pocket. There still will be a few loan costs on top of that, but it'll get them to pay for the bulk of that. More on earnest money, it's pretty identical to the paragraph in the previous form. And then seller has to allow inspections to happen if the lender or the appraiser requires them. If the appraiser is less than sale price, there's all these things that can be done. Because you're a VA borrower, it actually gives you the right to just back out if you don't like that. If you weren't a VA borrower, the seller would have to agree to come down to the appraised value, or some other negotiation between buyer and seller. And then the whole paragraph 7 is just, what do we do if that happens? I think this house is priced really well, competitively, and it shouldn't be a problem. And then this is just instructions to stating that, because you're a VA borrower, you have to have they have some extra requirements that the seller has to uphold. And then this is the extension of closing. You have to sign a closing disclosure towards the end, and then you have to have 3 days to sit on that. And if things change in those 3 days, then they have to do the whole process all over again. So that was where we were trying to select the closing date. That was an important thing we were considering. Optional clauses. This is just a bunch of standard clauses that we want to select. So square footage. I'm not a surveyor. Like I said before, we're going to go out and look at the property and take a look and see if there's any big fences or trees or buildings that we think are encroaching on the property, and we can deal with that then. But the property lines are pretty straightforward because of the fence in this one. That's just kind of a CYA. And then we selected seller cleaning. The title insurance is being covered under another form, so don't worry about these two. Seller needs to clean. If the seller leaves anything, they can't come back and get it later. It's connected to all these utilities. This is not new construction, so we didn't choose that, and it doesn't have any leased equipment, so we did not choose that. There's no homeowners association, so all of those are empty, and there's nothing that we saw that we really don't want. Now we're going to try to ask for a home warranty, but keep in mind that they may counter us on this. And if they do, and you still really want that protection for the first year, you can purchase that yourself. And I gave you the documents related to that. This is that FERPTA certification that we were talking about before, where we just want proof that the seller is a US citizen. Just a, yeah, paperwork. 22J, so this is the lead-based paint disclosure, and they're going to answer these questions, whether the seller has any knowledge about lead-based paint in the house. This is a whole bunch of disclosure. Lead-based paint can be really concerning for small children. You guys don't have any kids, but you know, these homes have been painted multiple layers over the years. There may be, and so if you would like to conduct a test to underneath all those layers, we can do so. Home Depot has a kit that they sell that's not super accurate all the time. And often, you know, you have to get down to the potential lead layer. If you wanted to do a full inspection with a licensed lead abatement inspector, they have these special sensors now that they can like kind of shoot through the layers of paint and see if there's any lead in there. They're much more accurate, but they're much more expensive. So let me know how concerned you are about that. And you have the lead risk flyer that or not flyer, but the pamphlet that I already gave you, so you can read through that and make your decision. But we've given you some time to go ahead and get that test if you like. And then this is just stating that the house is attached to the city of Oak Harbor for water, sewer, garbage, and that it's got natural gas coming from Cascade Natural Gas and electricity from Puget Sound Electric. Escrow will go ahead and make sure that there's a zero balance of the city so that you're not taking on any of the seller's bills and prorate that out at closing. This is that title contingency I was telling you about. So we have 5 days after we get the preliminary commitment to title insurance to review that. And if there's any supplemental reports that come in that make changes, you have time to review those as well, so that you're making sure there's no surprises and that you're getting the marketable title you expect. This is just disclosure that there are jets that fly in this area and they can make a lot of noise, and you're aware and you're okay to buy. And then this is the most important contingency. So this is your home inspection contingency. This allows you to perform a home inspection within 10 days of going mutual. We've already got that date penciled in with the home inspector for next Thursday. And after we do that inspection, it gives us all the instructions about what we're allowed to do based on that inspection. So we can ask for additional inspections if something comes up that needs more expertise to discern what's going on. And then we can make a request for repairs or modifications. So it's a second opportunity to negotiate, because this house has multiple offers and we're trying to move real fast. Just keep in mind that the seller is going to feel like they're in a pretty strong position for this house. But we'll see what comes up on that report, and you have this opportunity, and we'll negotiate the heck out of it if we can. And then the sellers have a response, buyers have a response time, and hopefully we all come to agreement on that and we move on. And then the seller has time until closing to make all those repairs, and we can go ahead and check on those repairs 3 days before closing. This one doesn't have an oil storage, so that's good. And then you guys have, this is kind of the sky could be, you know, more blue than you wanted it to be in the neighborhood, and you could get out of the contract within 3 days. So it's kind of just to give you a catch-all out if you change your mind in the next couple days, because I know we're moving pretty fast on this one. Okay, and then I'll get your check today, and this will be your receipt for earnest money. And then I'll pull the legal description out for us to initial, and you have the seller disclosure to review and sign for receipt. And that is it. So shall we sign? Any questions? Okay, great. And that's briefly how we do it. Now, I'll tell you guys, I'm sure I use different words every time I explain this. It's not always, it's not perfectly scripted. Sometimes I've got clients who have done this a few times or have had a bad experience, and they have a few more questions about said topics, but I'm listening and I'm looking at their body language, and I'm not afraid to call out, hey, you're looking a little uncomfortable or confused, or, do you guys have a question about this one? I'm sensing that, you're, maybe I'm not making sense on this, or do you understand this part? Be really comfortable, like calling the elephant in the room. Okay. Because you might be wrong, but to be in tune with your clients and the what they're telling you through their body language is really, really a critical skill as facilitators and in real estate. And so they will appreciate that you're paying attention and that they're being given the opportunity, because it's kind of, I think that a lot of buyers, especially I think new buyers, they sort of feel this need to pretend that they know more and that this is all just, part of the process. And they don't always feel comfortable saying the things that are on their mind or the questions that they're having. And so just really making sure that you give them every opportunity to do that is going to be really important. And they need to know that you can see them and that you're a safe place to share. Okay, and that's it. Hope that was helpful.